Which brings us to the question, Josh, of what of point guard recruiting, if not Angelo Brizzi off the board, if not Jay Akins looking like Michigan State, looking like even though Michigan made the cut for Jay Akins, just doesn't feel like they are in as good a position in the aftermath of landing Kobe Buffkin. What of point guard recruiting then?
There are still options out there, and I'm sure the board will inevitably expand as guys, come and go off the board. Jalen Worley comes to mind immediately. I think he'd probably be number one on that list, regardless of whether Brizzi or Akins was on there. A couple of guys also come to mind that haven't been offered that Michigan are interested in. Frankie Collins is a 4-star, plays for Coronado High School, recently transferred there. He included Michigan in a top 8, I believe, recently, but he never received an offer. And there's another guy, a 4-star named Ty Washington. He's out of Compass Prep, and I know I've spoken to a couple of coaches there who have said that Michigan is extremely interested in him, but have yet to extend an offer. So I wouldn't be surprised if as guys like Brizzi and Akins come off the board and commit elsewhere, that the point guard position kind of expands a little bit. I know a lot of that has to kind of do with Jalen Worley too, and kind of how they feel about him.
Yeah.
Extending offers and things like that. But I would not be surprised if some more offers were to come out sooner rather than later.
Yeah. So Jalen Worley, I think it's important to note. I'm sure people will say, "Hey, he's a combo guard." A lot of people see him as a shooting guard. I think my gut tells me that Michigan feels that he's more of a 1 than any of the combos that they've recruited or have been recruiting. I think that his basketball IQ, he is a guy that if you watch any of his highlights, you talk to people that know his game, he is a guy that can create for others. And it's not a huge leap. Like in talking about Zeb Jackson, by comparison, it's going to take some time and growth when you talk about I'm talking about when you talk about his deference, when you talk about being a pass-first guy. Zeb's a scoring guard that has some point skills. So you're going to have to grow him into more of a point guard. I think the perception of Jalen Worley is he already has that mentality that, the deferential piece won't be as much of a leap for him. And then, of course, we talked about the outstanding connections that Michigan has had with Phil Martelli having coached his dad and his uncle. So those are huge factors. The buzz that I'm hearing at this point is that it's Michigan and Virginia out front for him right now. Multiple people I talked to have said that. If you're Michigan, I think you, even though you just lost the battle to UVA, so they just lost out on Jabri Abdur-Rahim to UVA in a battle that, Michigan, it felt like, at least in the early going, they had a better shot at. But this one, I think that Michigan, the Phil Martelli feather in the cap, I kind of like Michigan's chances a little bit better there. I'll be linking back up with Jalen here in the coming days. But UVA is the team that most people that I talk to say they have to get over. And if they can get over UVA, they might come away with Jalen Worley in this battle. But you also have, some other formidable competition. Louisville's in that mix. Maryland, Oregon is another team that he has among his finalists as well. Florida State, but UVA is the team that most people are talking about. So we'll see if visits can take place. One of the things we talked about in the football portion, I want your opinion on this too, Josh. I just don't think that visits are going to be allowed in the fall. And so now in the absence of visits being allowed in the fall, and if a kid is going to make an early period decision, then what is it going to be based on? And this is why, in the battle between these two teams, I kind of like Michigan. I mean, you at least have on Michigan side dad and uncle, and even Jalen, who said that Phil Martelli has known me since I was a baby. If you can't visit these schools and get the academic tour and be around the team and get all of that personal feel like you would on a visit, then you gotta go with, what you know by extension through these virtual tours, And then do you have any other kind of connection to that school or to those coaches? He has that with Michigan.